Welcome to Game Week. Tennessee and Virginia coming up on Saturday at noon here with Tennessee head coach Josh Heupel. Coach, as the competitor in you, when you have the season you had last year and you win the Orange Bowl, do you wish you had more games to play, or were you kind of ready to kind of reset the things? I mean, does it seem like it's been forever since you've been on the field?
It's been a long time since we've been on the field together. That's a great way to finish the season, to culminate everything that had transpired. By the time you get to that point in the season, you have almost a month of build-up to know that that's the end of the season. It feels like the end of the season. I'd love to be in that locker room with all those guys still today, but I love this football team, and we're ready to start this journey in the 23 season. Been a lot of fun all off-season building. The leadership, the traits, the physical and mental toughness, growing as a football team collectively, but it's time to go play ball.
When you look at this team, how would you describe this team being different than last year's group?
Man, I think every season takes on its own identity. There's a lot of forming your group in the off season through training camp. At the same time, you form your identity during the course of the season too. And I'll tell you what, this group has been, the three teams that we've had, this has been the most mature. This has been the most consistent. They've been very intentional in the way that they've worked. We've developed great leadership. The attributes, the characteristics that we talk about inside our building, I think are lived out in a deeper way by more of our roster. And that's why I'm really excited about where we're at today and where we got a chance to go.
You look at last year's team, there's some guys on that team that didn't start their career here, transferred in and made themselves Tennessee legends in a lot of ways. It feels like you all have done just a phenomenal job in the transfer portal. What goes into that, and why do you think you've been so successful?
Well, I don't think that's how we're going to build our roster, as the primary focus. But, where we were at, 65 scholarships as we started, kind of patching our roster, it was important that we hit on guys that could come in and make an impact on our football team. At the same time, you got to bring in the right culture kids. Sure. Otherwise, the things that you're talking about with your incoming young guy class, the things that you're talking about with the guys that have been here, they kind of look at you side-eyed and go, well, you're talking about these things, but you're not living them out based on who you're bringing in. We've been really fortunate because I think that's the hardest thing to find out in the transfer portal. You typically have video of a guy, you've seen them perform at a pretty high level at the collegiate level, but you don't know who they are, what they're about. And we've been really fortunate. The guys that we've brought in here the last couple of years, they fit the mold of what Tennessee football stands for. And some of those guys have come in a short amount of time and really thrust themselves into being impact players, and we'll see that through the course of the season. But more importantly, been impactful in the locker room, and they live out the right traits.
Last year you had a quarterback who was 25 years old, and the maturity stood out. This year you've got a linebacker who's 25 years old. I always make the joke when you rent a car, that's you're getting up there. When you've got Keenan Peely, what did you think you had, and what have you found out that you have?
I thought we got a guy that was going to be the consummate pro, that was going to work in a relentless way for him to be his best. That was going to be strong, physical, and be a guy that could play really well inside of the box, that had played football at a high level and would be able to transition really quickly. We've gotten all that, but what we've gotten is a guy that has leadership traits, that inspires and connects with his teammates, that's making an impact across our football team, in particular on the defense side of the ball. We've gotten a guy that's more athletic and has better movement skills than what we anticipated. That's because of Keenan. That's because of our strength staff, nutrition. He's grown in a really good way all offseason.
I've always wondered this. You're the head coach of the whole team, but ultimately you still are the offensive guy calling plays. So when you're in practice and the defense makes a play, how much do you have to juggle being the head coach who's like, yeah, that's great development, versus, man, they got us on that one?
I try to be the first guy over and go celebrate with the defense every time they create a turnover, every time they make a big play. I think it's really important for us to be the team that we need to be. We got to be elite on that side of the football. We got to be great on special teams and on offense. But I ride with those guys during practice. I have a lot of fun competing all phases together. And I think it's important that they see that I'm in it with them.
Joe seems like he has just matured a ton since he got here. He's always had the laid-back demeanor, but just his answers, how thorough. Where do you see the biggest difference between Joe, who walked in here in May of 2021, and Joe now here in 2023?
His growth and being able to handle adversity, be able to handle success, being able to refocus and control the now. He's a different player than he was, when he first got here, but he's a different person too, and that's parlayed itself into him playing in a different way. He's got really good command of what we're doing. His grasp of our offense, but also defensive structure and responsibilities from the day he's gotten here to where he is now, so dramatically different. I'm excited about this journey with him this fall.
You've got a lot of upperclassmen on this team. Do you feel like the leadership just kind of runs through that group? And I'm not saying you don't have to lead, because you do, but at the same time, like sometimes you can just go player-led.
Championship seasons happen because you got championship leadership inside the locker room. At the end of the day, it's got to come from within. I got to help it. I got to steer that part of it, but it's got to come from within. This is probably as deep of a leadership group as that we've had here at Tennessee, and that's old guys, but there's some young guys that are really impactful too that are a part of that process. So, I love what we've done. Now you get into the season, it's important that those guys stay true and stay consistent. The peaks, the valleys, the ups and downs that happen during the season, these guys got to live it right when it's perfect and when it's not perfect.
Virginia's not played a game since they had that tragic incident up there with the school shooting where they lost multiple players. Do you talk to your team any about what those kids that they're going to be playing against have went through the last year?
Yeah, I think it's always important to frame, the perspective of where your opponent's potentially coming from. We're going to recognize, what happened there in a unique way. And so I wanted to make sure that the team was aware of that too. At the same time, it's about us once the ball's kicked off and making sure that we're of the right mindset.
Looking at your coaching career, what's the greatest advice you've ever been given, and who gave it to you?
Jeez, man. I've had a lot of advice from a lot of different people. I think one of the most important things that I've learned, but also was told, is at the end of the day, you have to be you. If you're anything other than your true identity and true self, players are going to see through that and not respond to you the way that you need to.
For Tennessee to have another big year, what are the keys in your mind? What do you?
Yeah, I wish there was just one or two keys to make that happen. But at the end of the day, the traits that we've built got to move forward with us, and that becomes harder as you get into the season because everybody's not going to live in the exact role of what they personally wanted during the course of a game or during the course of a season. This is a team that is all about the people around you, and everybody's got to sacrifice something for us to maximize what we want to do as a football team. So I think that's going to be really important that this team stays true to team throughout the course of the season. Defensively, there's steps that we got to take in third and long defense. Offensively, we got to be great up front and be able to control the line of scrimmage, and we got to be great decision makers with the ball. There's so many things that play into it. Special teams has to be the difference in the football game for us, and part of why we read the maxims every week is because those things hold true, and they speak to all three phases of the game.
Lastly, when you look at how far this place has come in just a short amount of time, what are you most proud of?
I'm proud of the culture, the connection that this program has built and lives out every single day. That's our coaches, that's our players, it's strength, it's medical, it's nutrition, the energy that's been created, our ability to love competing with each other every day while we're out on the practice field or in the weight room, and how we approach going and competing against another opponent. It's been hard to build. It's also been one of the most fun things about being here, and I love what this team represents right now.
All right, well, he has things rolling. 2023 kicks off this Saturday at noon with Virginia. Good luck against the Cavaliers.
Appreciate it.